It's borderline criminal what our leaders, so-called, have done or not done with our economy, with the status of our Golden State.
All right, Jim, thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk with us about some of the problems facing California.
We really do have to recognize we have serious problems, and that means that we then have to recognize and discuss them and then share some pain, and that's what's going to be happening.
What do you think the biggest problem facing the state is right now?
Well, it certainly is the economy and jobs, and there isn't too much that California can do with regard to jobs other than reduce all of this regulation that's going on, reduce all of the numbers of public employees. You know, it's just simply wrong for a public employee, and of course I was one for a long time, to get a judge, and I have a retirement. So it's a little hypocritical to say that public employees should not.
Now let's talk about that just for a quick second. You know, when we have these lawsuits about pension reform or pensions, people who are benefiting from pensions, judges are ruling on them. Do you see that there's a conflict there?
That's an innate conflict, and I suppose you could go to federal court or you could go to Nebraska or something instead, but there is a rule in the law that if everyone is disqualified, then no one is disqualified. So, for example, if there were a lawsuit against California, well, I'm a Californian, should I not be able to sit on that lawsuit? But basically everyone in California would be out.
How likely is it realistically for a judge to vote on some kind of a pension reform or rule on some kind of a pension reform that's going to impact them personally, take away hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Almost unlikely. Judges are supposed to do these things, but the problem, as we all notice, and Chris Street is a friend of mine, and he recognized this, and numbers of others as well, that you have the Board of Supervisors on the one hand who are dealing with at the county level that are dealing with the public employees, and the public employees unions care a lot about who gets elected to the County Board of Supervisors, and then of course the supervisor has to give some payback. So no one has been representing the taxpayers or the people, and now look where we are. San Bernardino, as you know, just declared bankruptcy. And I believe, honestly, Brian, that every city in our state is bankrupt, that they owe more than they're going to have funds coming in. It's time that we really address this seriously.
So public employee pensions, big issue for California and obviously union power. But what about the high-speed rail? That's kind of the next big boondoggle for the state.
It is a boondoggle. The idea, and I'm not sure the figures, but California must commit $2.1 billion now, otherwise they'll lose $3.1 billion from the federal government. Well, look, the state doesn't have it, and the federal government doesn't have it either, and the government shouldn't be involved in running railroads, for heaven's sake, and Amtrak or anything else. Yes, they can assist maybe in some easements or the rest, but it's just downright foolhardy to pursue this the way it's going.
And it's a drain on our budget and our coffers.
You noticed. You know, absolutely. I mean, we just don't have that money. And again, I'll quickly say that we have Governor Gary Johnson running for president as a Libertarian. He understands these issues, I am proud to say, and we're running to win, and it's not in this moral victory stuff, but we will build a coalition government, and the Democrats can't do that, the Republicans can't do that, and they're all fighting with each other, but we will have some leadership, and highly placed in our administration will be people from every party based upon merit of all things, and we will get things done. I'm proud to be involved. Look, if you're a drug dealer and I am, and I move in on your territory, you can't file a complaint in court and bring it to judges like me. You have your thugs beat up my thugs. It just goes on and on.
Connect the dots for me, though, and for everyone who's watching this. You know, border security, issues with the border and immigration and drugs. I mean, how does that really fix the whole problem?
That's a direct correlation, of course. Even the head of the DEA said that about 60% of the Mexican drug cartel's gross revenue came from just marijuana alone. And look at it this way too, every juvenile gang in our country probably has its chief source of revenue from what? The sale of illegal drugs. So it's directly correlated. And the violence, look, if you're a drug dealer and I am, and I move in on your territory, you can't file a complaint in court and bring it to judges like me. You have your thugs beat up my thugs. It just goes on and on. Ask Mexico, they've lost 60,000 people of violent death, not because of drugs, has nothing to do with drugs, it's all drug money that's caused it, and of course it's our drug money that's been there.
You know, California's a border state, obviously, borders Mexico. We see a lot of violence over the border, and it affects both sides. It affects Mexico in the sense that many tourists would go over the border and pour tourist dollars into Mexico from California don't go anymore because they're afraid of violence. But it also affects our side of the border as well. Is there anything that California legislators can do outside of this crazy rhetoric on both sides that can actually fix some of these challenges?
Brian, we really can. We should, and I'm involved with this, have an initiative, regulate marijuana like wine. The legislators should pass such an initiative. And by the way, we should regulate hemp just like cotton. I mean, you can get as much of a kick from smoking hemp as you can your shirt. There's just nothing there.
I don't want to smoke this shirt though, I like it.
Well, okay. It's debatable, but one way or the other. But you know, these are things that really must happen. And even in our Regulate Marijuana Like Wine initiative, we were not able to get on the ballot. But the State Attorney General's office said that we in California will save tens of millions of dollars in enforcement costs every year and will generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue.
So that won't be on the ballot in 2012?
It will not be.
Possibly in the future?
2014.
2014?
It will be in Colorado and Washington, and of course we as Libertarians are stumping for that. But the other thing too, and people need to understand this, as a judge 25 years, I have seen this. We have tens of thousands of people in prison today in California that simply should not be there. Very expensive, separating parents from their children, raising the children then to follow the parents' footsteps into prison. Let's get more serious about that and keep our prisons for people that actually cause violence to others, and those that are property crimes or white-collar crimes even, put them in jail for 30, 60, 90 days, but then put them on strict probation such that they make restitution to their victims. Everybody wins that way.